In 2023, a man walked within 200 feet of Jeff Bezos with a hidden weapon before security even noticed. It wasn't a failure of money. Bezos has access to nearly unlimited security spend. It was a failure of layers, because at every level of wealth, security isn't about how much you spend. It's about how the threat model changes as the number gets bigger. That's the world we're breaking down today. From the entrepreneur who just hired his first bodyguard, to the individuals whose protection apparatus rivals a head of states. And before someone comments, yes, some of this is publicly known, some of it is estimated, and the real numbers are deliberately never confirmed. That's the point. Save it. We're here for the architecture, not the gossip. Let's get into it. Level 1. The first bodyguard. Net worth, roughly $50 million to $300 million. This is where personal security stops being optional and starts being a line item. A single executive protection agent costs $80,000 to $150,000 per year. Most Level 1 individuals hire one, maybe two, usually ex-military or ex-law enforcement, contracted through a regional security firm rather than employed directly. Here's what most first-time clients don't understand. One bodyguard isn't protection, it's a deterrent. A single agent can't cover entrances, exits, vehicle staging, and the principal simultaneously. He can de-escalate. He can absorb a first contact. He cannot prevent a coordinated threat. The home gets basic upgrades, reinforced doors, a camera system, maybe a panic room retrofit that costs $50,000 to $150,000. Nothing structural. Nothing that required architectural planning from day one. Who's here? The startup founder who just had a liquidity event and started getting strange messages on LinkedIn. Nothing serious, just enough to make his wife uncomfortable. He hired a guy his lawyer recommended, former Secret Service, now runs a two-man firm out of a strip mall office. The guy drives him to the airport and stands outside restaurant doors. It feels like overkill most days. Then one day someone follows his car for 6 blocks, and he understands exactly why he pays for it. Level 2. The protective detail. Net worth, $300 million to $1 billion. This is where security stops being a person and starts being a system. A full protective detail runs $500,000 to $1.5 million per year. 3 to 6 agents working rotating shifts, covering 16 to 24 hours of the principal's day. A lead agent who functions as a security director, coordinating schedules, routes, and advance work. This is where advance work enters the picture. A concept most people have never heard of. Before the principal arrives anywhere, an agent has already been there, checked the entrances, identified exits, scouted the parking, confirmed who else will be present. The restaurant reservation isn't just a reservation. It's been vetted. Vehicles upgrade too. Not armored yet, usually, but high-end SUVs with trained protective drivers who know evasive techniques most people only see in movies and occasionally need them, even at this level. Who's here? The real estate developer worth $600 million who started getting protection after a disgruntled former business partner made threats that local police couldn't legally act on yet. His detail head used to run dignitary protection for visiting foreign officials. He now spends his days reading the developer's calendar, like a battlefield map. Every meeting a location to secure. Every flight a window of exposure. The developer complains about losing privacy. His detail head reminds him, gently, that privacy and safety stopped being compatible the day his net worth became public information. Level 3. The Residential Fortress. Net worth, $1 billion to $5 billion. This is where the home itself becomes a security asset, not just a place that gets protected. Residential security infrastructure at this level costs $2 million to $10 million to build, and $500,000 to $1 million annually to maintain. We're talking perimeter sensors, layered camera systems with AI-assisted threat detection, reinforced safe rooms rated to withstand forced entry for extended periods, and biometric access control replacing keys entirely. The security team grows to 8 to 15 personnel, now including a dedicated cybersecurity specialist, because at this level, the threat isn't just physical anymore. Email compromise, deepfake voice scams targeting family members, and social engineering attacks against household staff become real, documented risks. Family members get folded into the protection plan. Spouses get drivers. Children get security-aware school drop-off protocols, sometimes without ever knowing it's happening. The goal is invisible security, protection that doesn't make the family feel like prisoners. Who's here? The tech billionaire whose company makes daily headlines, which means his face and his children's school are one Google search away from anyone who wants to find them. His security director runs quarterly threat assessments, not hypothetical exercises, but actual review of credible threats received that quarter. Some come from competitors. Some come from people who genuinely believe the billionaire owes them something. Most are nothing. A few are not. The job of the security team isn't to tell the difference after something happens. It's to never let it get that far. Level 4. The Mobile Operations Center. Net worth, $5 billion to $20 billion. At this level, security stops following the principal. It travels with them as a fully mobile infrastructure. Annual security spend, $5 million to $15 million. The detail expands to 20 to 35 personnel, organized into shifts, advanced teams, and a counter-surveillance unit whose entire job is identifying whether the principal is being watched, tracked, or followed before anything escalates. Private aviation becomes part of the security perimeter, not just a travel convenience. Flight plans get filed under shell entities. Tail numbers get obscured through ownership structures designed specifically to prevent flight tracking websites from revealing the principal's location in real time. Armored vehicles become standard, not just one, but a fleet, positioned at every property and pre-staged at travel destinations before the principal lands. A counter-assault element exists, even if it's never been activated. Its presence alone changes the calculus for anyone planning something. Who's here? The industrialist who travels to a dozen countries a year for business he can't delegate. His security operation has a name, a budget code, and a director who used to coordinate protective intelligence for a national leader. Before any trip, an advance team is already on the ground, checking local police relationships, identifying the nearest trauma hospital, mapping evacuation routes from every venue on the itinerary. The principal sees none of this. He just lands, and somehow, everything is already handled. Level 5. The Private Intelligence Apparatus. Net worth, $20 billion to $75 billion. This is where security stops reacting to threats and starts predicting them. Annual spend: $15 million to $40 million. The operation now includes a dedicated intelligence unit, analysts, not just agents, monitoring open-source chatter, dark web mentions, and pattern-of-life data that could indicate surveillance or planning against the principal or their family. Government-level relationships become part of the infrastructure. Coordination with local and federal law enforcement isn't reactive anymore. It's a standing relationship, sometimes formalized, where threat intelligence flows in both directions. The properties themselves are now protected like compounds, multiple rings of security, safe room networks with independent communications and life support, and redundant systems, so that no single point of failure can compromise the principal's safety. Who's here? The individual whose company is, in some practical sense, critical infrastructure, meaning a successful attack wouldn't just be a personal tragedy, it would be a national event. His security apparatus reflects that reality. Government liaisons exist not as a courtesy, but as a recognition that his safety has become, unofficially, a matter of state interest. He rarely discusses any of this publicly. The infrastructure is built specifically so that he never has to. Level 6. The Sovereign Adjacent Protection Model net worth: $75 billion to $200 billion. At this level, personal security begins to resemble the protection apparatus built around heads of state, because the consequences of failure have become comparably large. Annual spend: $40 million to $100 million plus, though exact figures are almost never confirmed. Estimates are pieced together from public filings, leaked contracts, and former staff. The detail size approaches 50 to 100 personnel across multiple properties and operating regions simultaneously. Counter-drone systems appear at residences. Electronic countermeasures protect against signal interception and tracking. Medical response capability is embedded directly into the security team. Trauma-trained personnel and, in some documented cases, a standing relationship with specific hospitals that maintain readiness for the principal's arrival. No notice required. The family's entire ecosystem becomes a protected perimeter. Schools, workplaces, social circles, all quietly assessed, all factored into a threat model that's reviewed continuously, not annually. Who's here? The handful of individuals whose wealth and global visibility put them in a category most security professionals only train for in theory. Their protection details are staffed by people who left careers protecting presidents and prime ministers because the budget, the resources, and in some ways the stakes are comparable, sometimes higher, because unlike a head of state, there's no government agency mandated to coordinate it. It's built entirely from private capital, assembled by people who understand that the job has no margin for error. Level 7. The Parallel State Apparatus. Net worth: $200 billion and beyond. At this level, the line between personal security and sovereign-level protection effectively disappears. There is no public number for what this costs. What's known is fragments, leaked budgets, court filings, investigative journalism that occasionally pulls back a corner of the curtain. Estimates from people who've studied this world suggest spend in the hundreds of millions annually is plausible, though no one outside the inner circle actually knows. At this level, the principal's movements are coordinated with actual government security services in multiple countries, not as a courtesy but as standard operating procedure. Because the individual's safety has become, in practice, a matter that intersects with national and economic stability. Private intelligence operations at this scale rival small government agencies, with former intelligence officers, cyber specialists, and threat analysts working full-time on a single person's safety. Properties function less like homes and more like secured installations. Airspace restrictions in some cases, dedicated emergency response teams on permanent standby, and security architecture designed by the same firms that harden embassies and critical infrastructure. This is the level where the question stops being, how do you protect a person, and becomes, how do you protect an asset whose loss would have measurable consequences for markets, industries, and in some cases, geopolitics. No one confirms the details. No one is supposed to. The entire point of security at this level is that you never find out how close something came to happening. The bodyguard industry started as a simple trade. A strong, trained person standing between danger and someone who could pay for the distance. It became something else entirely. At level 1, it's a man in a suit outside a restaurant door. At level 7, it's an intelligence operation with a budget larger than some national defense agencies, built around a single human being who has become, functionally, too important to lose. A guy at level 1 and a guy at level 7 are both buying the same thing. They're buying the absence of a single bad day. One's buying it with a phone number and a retainer. The other is buying it with an apparatus that rivals a government. The threat was never really the point. The point is that past a certain number, you're not just protecting a person anymore. You're protecting everything that person has built, and everyone who depends on it. If this was useful, subscribe. I break down how power actually works, not how the headlines describe it. See you in the next one.